Hey everybody, Dr. Grant here, and today we're going to be talking about specifically the best supplements to eliminate your ADHD symptoms naturally. And how this works very specifically, whenever you're trying to look for specific supplements, it's always good to do investigative work for the root causes of your own ADHD symptoms. So I'm going to give you case studies of patterns that I see with my patients and clients when I'm working with their ADHD to find the best supplements to eliminate their ADHD symptoms. So the very first thing that I usually like to look at is a common symptom that people with ADHD tend to have is forgetting a lot, right? Having short-term memory issues. And usually the supplements that need to be targeted here, if that is the case, is typically when someone's low in serine. And when you're low in serine, this typically will contribute to the memory issue. So phosphatidylserine is a great one that can help with the memory issues when it comes to ADHD. Another thing to also incorporate too is if there's focus and no motivation issues, which is very common with people with ADHD, typically we're going to see low dopamine as well as tyrosine as being an issue. And if that's the case, when we test for that, typically what I'm going to recommend is something called Dopa Boost. This is not a sponsored video. I don't do any kind of sponsorships, but I like Dopa Boost because of what it has in it specifically to target dopamine and tyrosine, because it has N-acetyltyrosine as well as mucuna in it, which has L-Dopa. And L-Dopa directly helps make dopamine. So Dopa Boost is definitely a really great one that I like to incorporate. Usually the dosages on this, I will typically recommend about starting out 1 twice a day. And then sometimes I will go up to two times a day when it comes to the Dopa Boost. Typically, when I'll recommend it is usually morning and afternoon, because I want my patients to typically have that emphasis of like an extra boost in the middle of the day. Okay. Now, another one that typically is usually an issue is when it might not be a dopamine issue, but you're still having focus and no motivation. So another great supplement I like to incorporate that about 90% of the issue is when I'll see patients having low phenylethylamine levels. And if that's the case, it means that we need to be addressing this exactly right here and not necessarily dopamine. Because in this case, you can see this patient, their dopamine levels are fine. So what we'll incorporate is DL-phenylalanine, or sometimes also PEA directly. So phenylethylamine directly, I'll supplement that as well. So those are two great ones to incorporate to improving those levels in order to help with the focus and motivation as well. Now, some other common symptoms that also can show up along with focus issues is also stress as well. And that's very common to see people with ADHD to deal with that. And so what I will see is sometimes everything will be low. And you'll feel stressed, you'll feel depressed, you'll have low motivation and focus and drive. So then we have to use several other different supplements that are going to help address this. And the one I do like is Dopatone Active, because it has several different things that specifically address if you're low in all of these areas. Because it has vitamin B6, the activated form, which helps with every step one of these processes right here, because it is responsible for building and modulating dopamine, is vitamin B6. It also has mucuna, which we already talked about, that needs L-Dopa. It has DL-phenylalanine, which we've already talked about that. It also has N-acetyltyrosine in it. It also has phenylethylamine in it. All the things that you do need, as well as alpha-lipoic acid, which helps with building and modulating all these different neurotransmitters. So if you're someone like my patient here has everything that's low, Dopatone Active will be a great one. We'll see a lot of benefits there with helping improve motivation and focus. Now, other areas that also could be an issue is when we see serotonin low, along with norepinephrine and epinephrine being low. So in that case, great supplements that are going to be good for that, to eliminating those symptoms, is going to be L-tryptophan, 5-HTP, and L-theanine. Because 5-HTP and as well as tryptophan are both directly helping improving serotonin levels. So that's why those ones work really great. But you got to first find out if you're deficient in it or not. Because if you're not going to see much of a difference with your symptoms. This is why it's important to investigate and doing lab testing to truly see what is the root cause of the problem. Okay. Now, if you're on the side where you're stressed, anxiety, agitated, unfocused, then in that case, things might be more on the elevated side. This is where we'll see that, where dopamine is elevated, where GABA levels are elevated, where serotonin levels are elevated, and you're having these symptoms. So you definitely don't want to necessarily be implementing all the different supplements that I was just talking about before, some of them, but not all of them. Because if you did like something like Dopatone Active or Dopa Boost, that would make things worse because everything's already elevated on this side, and that would just make things even worse. That's why you got to be very careful when you're deciding on which supplements to use. That's why it's good to actually test and investigate of what's going on first. So in this case, typically these are the three things that I would recommend is L-theanine, because L-theanine helps also lower it to a good healthy balance where it needs to be, but also will elevate it where it needs to be. So it's a great neutralizer. Same with rhodiola is a really great one to use that. And then of course, B complex typically tends to be low. So B vitamins tend to be low if we see elevated levels in the different neurotransmitters. Okay. Now, some other additional things that I do like to look into, and I don't have time to go over everything here, but one that I see as far as an issue when it comes to hormones is looking at cortisol. So two things can happen here. Well, several things can happen. Sometimes we'll see it low, sometimes we'll see it high, just like this patient, or it'll just be low the entire time, or it could be high the entire time, or it's just up and down. So when we're looking at this, looking at cortisol, cortisol has everything to do with energy, but also stress, and can impact your focus and your stress levels drastically. So in this case, typically we want to use something like a cortisol manager because it has ashwagandha. And why is that important? Because ashwagandha helps lower cortisol. So you typically would want to be taking this around the time when your cortisol levels are too high. Then using something like adrenal desiccated when the cortisol levels are low. You definitely don't want to be taking when it's high, but when it's more low. And this is where it'll help with not only with the stress, but it also will help with the focus throughout the day and not feeling so exhausted. Okay. So this is really what requires is to understand what are going to be the best supplements for you that are going to work to eliminate the ADHD symptoms. So if you'd like to be able to figure out this stuff for yourself, just like how I've gotten results with many of my patients, I'd love to help you out. Because like I said before, it does require doing investigative work, further investigative work, what truly is going on. Because doing this alone, it's not easy. The body's complex. It's hard to really pinpoint what are going to be the best supplements. And so I'd love to help you out because finding out the source of the imbalances are going to truly help you identify of how to address your ADHD situation and have more of a customization of individualized treatment that you do need. And so here's exactly how I can help you out. Because I've set aside time to speak with you personally to help you actually get started getting results. Okay. And so the very first step is to booking a focused mindset strategy session, your first consultation with me. So that way I can dive deeper into your medical history to understand the root causes of your medical issues that are contributing to your ADHD situation, as well as to identify what would be the best labs to investigate your situation with your ADHD and help you optimize your ADHD brain. So this focused strategy session is like I said, we'll be putting together a more specific plan together that's more specific to your situation. And then here's exactly how we'll do that together. First we'll uncover what is behind your blind spot. What is causing the ADHD symptoms? Because I'll tell you, probably haven't heard a lot of this from your own doctors. They just give you different medications, doing assessments, but never truly identifying the root cause of the problem. And then, we'll customize a plan of action to help you get you unstuck. And then finally, we'll determine if it makes sense working more closer together to help you unlock your true potential with your ADHD brain to eliminate those ADHD symptoms. So it's the Focused Mindset Strategy Session. It's a 45-minute one-on-one with me. That's a $750 value. Also, if you do purchase today, you do get access to my nutrition lifestyle tracking app that I use with all my patients and clients. That's a $300 value. You also get a bonus access if you do purchase today to my ADHD health course. That's a $197 value. So you get all of that, over $1,000 value, but you get it all for just $297. Okay. So all you got to do is just click on the link in the description below. Once you click on that link, it'll take you to this page to book. Once you do that, then you'll purchase. But it's really important. After you purchase, is really, really important. You still have to book your time. So please don't forget this step. Some of you guys do forget. So please hit the book now after you've already purchased. Then you'll pick a date and time to meet with me. And then once you've done that, you'll fill out your information here. Now, when you do pick your date and time, if you do have a spouse or significant other, I do require that they are there, because ADHD definitely impacts relationships and marriages, and I want to see the outside perspective. So please book a date and time that both you and your spouse or significant other or partner can be present, okay? And then once you've done that, you'll fill out your information here. And then this is really important. You will need to check your email to confirm your appointment, as well as to activate your Practice Better account, and to also make sure to fill out the client questionnaire. This is really important that you fill this out at least a couple days before your appointment with me, so I can look over that before we meet. This helps me determine what labs would be the best to implement and so forth, okay? And then block out 45 minutes to an hour. Please do show up early. I give about a 10-minute grace period. Otherwise, I have to mark it as a no-show. But we give you lots of reminders so you don't miss out on that. Okay, so if you are really wanting to tackle your ADHD and want to identify the root causes of your ADHD situation, then go ahead and book that consultation with me so I can help you out, investigate what is the root cause of your issues, and help you optimize your ADHD brain. So I hope to see you guys in the inside. I'll see you guys on the next live stream. Thanks.